Hello there. This is the Night Owl, and this is a show where we go over our late night show where we go over all the latest pop culture news stories of the day, of the week sometimes. And with me, I have uh, my prestigious guest, Dreadroberts. How's it going?
Prestigious, yes. I am doing wonderful. There's
Awesome.
so much going on.
So much going on. Let me start off. Did you see Dune 2, or am I alone in this?
You for the moment, yes. Although I am planning on seeing it this week.
So I'm not going to do any spoilers here. I'm just going to talk about the movie kind of in broad strokes because I don't want to ruin it for people. Just tell people my overall sentiments about it, but I'm not going to do it in a way that keeps people from enjoying the movie. Overall, there's a lot to like about this movie, but as because I have to be upfront and honest, there are a few things here that I didn't like about the movie, even though there's a lot that I did like. And if I had to describe it, I would say that this movie could have been a very, very good movie, and it ends up being a pretty good, almost very good, pretty good movie. It's when it comes to the
Wow.
visuals, they get a lot of things right here. I like the style that Villeneuve brings to the table. I think that in the first Dune movie, I like the visual style that he created for this world. I think it was really good world building, and in this sequel, he continues that. A lot of cool things. I like the visual. I like it's creative. It's just it feels epic. There's parts of this movie that feel very epic, and I think that if I had to point out a few things that are less than stellar, it would be, for me personally, I never loved Timothy Chalamet or Zendaya, and I
hmm
kind of feel that the reason that they're in this movie is because some studio probably came up to this director and said, "You want this kind of budget? You want a budget to do this high concept science fiction movie? Well, you better cast Zendaya and Timothy Chalamet in the lead roles because we need some people here that can sort of bring a mainstream audience." And they're big
Mm.
names. They're big on social media. There's people that are youngsters that like him. Timothy Chalamet, ladies like him, young ladies like him. Why do they like him? I'm not really sure, but they do like him. And Zendaya, she, in my opinion, is kind of overrated and
Mm.
overexposed, and I'm not a big fan of hers. But they need to make this movie, and I understand the dilemma the director was probably in. So
I mean, do you
when he
think
had,
that?
and all, even Florence Pugh in this movie, and I'll get to that also. Especially these younger actors, I feel like these are studio mandates. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do you think that Timothy Chalamet was capable of carrying the movie on his own, or do you think that he had that acting ability? Because that's what a
Well,
lot of people are saying, and but they're also critical of Zendaya's character right now. That's
right.
what I'm seeing a lot of.
Right. So I think that that's a fair question, and that's really, you got down to the heart of it here. I think that both Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya are not my preferred leading actors, but I will say that Timothy Chalamet, when given an opportunity, he stepped up. Now, to say that
hmm
I love Timothy Chalamet and I want to see him in every movie, no. To say that I think that this is the best thing, like, the best the character could be, probably not. Is this the best that Timothy Chalamet could do? Yes. Did he put
hmm
in a decent performance? Yes. I think that he understood the opportunity was given, and even though I personally don't prefer him, I think that this is the best performance he's ever done. He really tried. He does his best, and he doesn't
Mm,
ruin the movie. Uh,
that's
on the other
interesting.
hand, Zendaya for me is miscast, and there's a few things that happen. First of all, in this movie, nothing about her acting, as opposed to Timothy Chalamet, I don't think she steps up. I think that there's something about her style of acting that I don't love. I think that there's certain roles that she's good for. If, let's say, you have something where you need a kind of quirky or some awkward girl, teenager, if you need somebody in her late 20s to play a teenage girl that's
Yeah,
sort of awkward, she's perfect for that. She's really good at that. But that's a
yeah.
very niche specific role, meaning maybe it works on Spider-Man No Way Home. Maybe she did okay in a show like Euphoria, which is more drama, but like it's more edgy or whatever you want to call it. But I'm saying maybe she was good for those type of roles. But to tell you that in this movie I really buy her as this role, something doesn't work for me. I think that whoever was going to take this role needed to be somebody more physically athletic, and if possible, somebody with a bit more edge in the acting. I feel like she doesn't really satisfy either of those. She may have satisfied the studio when it comes to the marketing, but I don't feel that she satisfied it. In addition, there were changes made to her character here that I feel like they wanted to make her more like the modern woman. You know what I mean? Like a
Oh
modern
no.
Hollywood type of woman thing.
So they messed with Chani too, huh?
Yes,
Oh
I mean,
no.
again, there's certain things that happen in the book that in this movie don't happen, and I also feel like there was, especially as the movie progresses, there's something about her that feels more and more like she's a modern 2024 woman, and not the type of character we're expecting to see in this science fiction book. It's science fiction. It was written in 60 years ago, 60 something years ago. There's a different vibe, I think, that this character is supposed to have, and I didn't need the modern 2024 vibe. And really, for me, that's the thing that kept popping up over and over in the movie, that it annoyed me. It's hard to ignore it, and that's why the movie
Yeah.
in a way is kind of frustrating, because there's so many good things that happen here. The visuals, are stunning. The directing is good. There's good storytelling, a lot of atmosphere, a lot of epic feelings. Some people didn't like the score. I thought it was fine. They said, "Oh, Hans Zimmer just makes a lot of noise here." I kind of like it, even so. Maybe it's not his best work. There's a lot to like here. But every time I see her on screen and they kind of do that kind of bitter, the bitter woman, I don't really know how to explain it. Like she always makes this kind of bitter face. She's bitter all the
You
time.
know what? It's actually funny that you mentioned that. I think even when I was watching the first Dune movie, I noticed that whenever she came on the screen, I was pulled out of the movie a little bit, and it was because that while she was delivering her lines, it's like she was doing her best, but she has this, like you mentioned, this modern edge to her acting that kind of prevents her from fully, like, I don't know, immersing into her role and fully delivering it. She has this present day feel to her acting that keeps her separated from the rest of the cast, and that she can't fully immerse herself into this role where
Yeah,
she's in outer space.
she's not on the same level. I agree with you
Right.
100%. Like there's a cast here. You could see it like you were saying in the first movie. You have a cast like Oscar Isaac. You have some really good actors there. Not to mention, Skarsgård. You have just a lot of almost every actor you see on screen is a good character actor. Rebecca Ferguson that plays Paul's mom. I think like she's good too. A lot of great actors here. Charlotte Rampling is a veteran actress that plays the older witch lady, whatever it is.
Yeah.
In any case, there's a lot of good actors in this one. You also see Christopher Walken. Again, I think he actually gives a really nuanced performance here. Really happy to see him in this movie. Even
So
Austin,
how much do we see of Christopher Walken's character?
more than you'd think. You see him here and there. I mean, it's not that you see him the whole movie. He's not like every second there, but when you see him, his presence is important. And I think that Christopher Walken does a good job. It's really just Zendaya who, in my opinion, is sort of a level below all these other people. And let me show you the poster. And this is a lot of marketing. They really wanted to push this thing. They're trying to bring a certain audience to it. Let me see if I can find this picture that I wanted to show. Maybe it's this one. Like I walk into the theater and I see this annoying poster, like she's like walking in front of him. She's this big warrior. Physically, I mean, I barely physically buy that he's a warrior, but she definitely doesn't look like a warrior to me.
Oh no. Yeah, you would see this poster a lot more often than you think too. I don't even think it's the first Dune poster that's done something like this. They have Paul like standing behind Chani in multiple shots, like in the movie and in the posters.
When I was watching it, I couldn't help but feel that perhaps the management for Zendaya read the script and then called the studio and said, "Listen, she'll do it, but you got to make sure that she's more of a modern woman here. She's Zendaya. Zendaya's very, very important. She's very important in this movie. Don't forget it." like contracts were pulled up and said, and it's probably like next to where she signs her name, it says Zendaya is very, very important.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, compared to Paul Atreides' character in this sequel, does she get more screen time than he does? A
She doesn't
significant
get
margin?
she doesn't get more screen time than he does, but I do think that yeah, I wouldn't say she gets too more, but I also think that they kind of rushed their love story. They had to create a situation here where you really understand the sort of relationship that's built between them. I feel like in parts that they needed to focus more, they kind of focused less. And on showing her as more of a modern woman, they kind of focus too much. And it's not helped. I'm sorry about this, but it's not helped by her acting or by her physical appearance, which I think doesn't seem like a warrior. It seemed like that they were that the filmmaker needed to put Zendaya in this movie more than Zendaya needed to be in this movie. There
Okay.
are actresses out there that are better than her. You know, somebody I know, he said, "Oh, what about Jenna Ortega?" Jenna Ortega physically is very petite, but when it comes to acting chops, I think she would have been better acting wise. You know,
Hmm.
if you could have found somebody that has sort of the physical, you know, a 20-something-year-old Gina Carano when it comes to physical warrior stuff, but you know, with the kind of appearance, sort of an acting vibe of like Jenna Ortega. If you could have done like a hybrid, that probably would have been somebody good. And you know what? Even if it's somebody we don't know, do a casting call. There must be actresses here in the U.S. There's no
Yeah.
reason not to even do diverse, because you know the people that do live in the desert, it would make sense. You know, and this is actually something that my friend Tom Connors said to me, that you know they're in the desert. It makes sense that there would be a diverse casting. That's like a non-issue. It's just
Hmm.
if you're gonna cast for this role, you should do some kind of cattle call. Find the best person for this role. And I'm not sure that this is the best.
No,
Uh,
I mean, it was definitely. I feel that she was picked just because of her popularity, um, especially with the Spider-Man franchise. She probably, really got the attention of some people, and but I do think that they could have picked someone far better than that. I think actually something specifically I was wondering about because of how people are torn over this movie. It seems a lot of people are saying that this is Denis Villeneuve's like best work, but I have some people on the other side saying that this movie is barely better than the first one, maybe not even as good, maybe even worse than the first one.
you know, the first one had somebody like Oscar Isaac. It had some things there that I really like. Oscar Isaac for me is a cut above. I rate him more than Timothy Chalamet. I thought that his presence was very important. I don't blame them.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, whatever happens to his character in the first one, it happens. That's part of what that story is. It's just that in this movie, Timothy Chalamet had to really carry it here. Again, he steps up as much as he could. I can't say that he ruined it, but between Timothy Chalamet and then a miscast Zendaya, it's things that are difficult for me not to notice. And even with all of that, there's still things to like about this movie. I wouldn't say that it's a bad movie. I would just say that it's a movie that could have been very good or excellent, and it's pretty good. Even
Okay.
though it has a lot of elements that are great in it, it's somehow the sum of its parts don't become as great as they should. Also, even Florence Pugh here, I think she's a decent actress. I think that they tried to do something with her that's also feels a bit off here. That
Hmm.
she's sort of this princess character. I feel like she also sort of. I think she's a good actress, and maybe she could have played a role in this movie. I just don't know if this was the role for her. I
Hmm.
don't completely buy her that this was the right casting either. And really, these are the actors that you kind of feel like in every production today. Sometimes Hollywood finds some people, and it really tries to lobby that these actors will become a thing. Zendaya, Timothy Chalamet, Florence Pugh. Now, I will say Florence Pugh is a decent actress, maybe more so than the other two, but still, I still feel like the studio, if they have a movie, they really have to shove these people in there. I don't know why, but they have to shove them in there at any price.
I will say that I'm pretty tired of seeing the same actors and actresses in like pretty much everything now. I don't I'm honestly expecting like one of 10 people to always be in one of these big mainstream projects now because I don't know if it's just like this big circle that they just like, hey, you've been in this one and this one. Hey, I'm sure you'll be up for this. And it's just people that we've seen before, and it's like we don't have any new people filling these roles that where they can embody these characters and stuff like that. So Zendaya is probably a great example of that. I think just the fact that she's been in so much, and then she takes on the role of Shani, and everybody's already seen, you know, her acting skills and what she brings to the table, which is a little bit too modern for something so space opera as Dune.
For sure.
Probably not helped by the fact that the movie, at least from what I hear, not um, is not very faithful to the novel. I think less faithful than the first movie was, which I'll
It's
actually be
less.
the judge of because I've actually read the book. So
It's less faithful. I'm not going to pretend I'm some kind of book purist, but I can tell you that it's less faithful, especially when it comes to the Chani character and a few other things. Again,
yeah,
I don't want to ruin it for people. I think that, you know, all I can say is it's worth a trip to the theater. Even with all of its flaws, there's a lot of good things about it. It feels epic, and I've seen much worse films in recent years. I don't even want to say much worse film. I've seen a lot of bad films. I can't call this movie bad. I can call this a good movie that has issues.
okay,
That has some bad elements of it, but overall, I still sat there and thought that I was watching a pretty epic movie. Struggled with some parts of it, but it's leaning more to good. It's not. I can't give it like a failing grade, even though it annoyed me in parts. You know what I mean?
oh
There's
yeah,
enough
yeah, I
good
feel that.
here. There's enough something that it's the reason you go to see a movie in the theater. A lot of things that I just enjoy. I like science fiction. I like a lot of the things that we've seen here. Austin Butler, I thought, who I put in this picture here, I think he did a pretty good job in this movie. Um,
Oh
you,
yes, I
you
heard he
know,
was really good.
yeah, I think that actually maybe out of these kind of four younger actors that they shoehorned in here, I feel like he uh, maybe had the most impressive performance out of them. Then maybe Chalamet, Pugh was just kind of there, and Zendaya miscast. But Rebecca
Okay,
Ferguson, I thought was good. Again, Christopher Walken, a lot of good things here. I think we'll let people decide. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but those were my opinions about it. But
excellent.
I, sorry, you go on. Are you excited to see it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm actually really excited. I know that people have their opinions, but you know, I love the book Dune, and I actually read it recently because of the first movie that came out. I decided to read it, and it was great. I hope that the second movie is as good as the first, but I expect it to be good. You know, I'm a big fan of Denis Villeneuve's films, so I actually have high hopes about it, despite what people are saying.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean, again, like I said, it's worth watching. I didn't say I don't recommend it, but I have to try to also be honest. I'm not going to be one of those people that just goes and just shills for it or just say it's the best thing I've ever seen. There's a lot of good in it, some parts that are problematic, and if you're prepared for it and you understand that it is what it is, I think that there's something to be enjoyed here.
yeah.
But I guess let's move on to our next topic, which is Amazon, which is really interesting. Let's see. This is really an interesting story.
So they're being sued again, huh?
They are being sued, yes, and I will now share this story so we can kind of look at it. Okay, so basically what happens is that Amazon is doing a remake of the movie Roadhouse, the one that with Patrick Swayze, the classic
Mhm.
cult movie with Patrick Swayze and Sam Elliott. And for some reason, they've decided that they want to remake this movie. For me, it just feels dumb. I feel like I never needed this remake to begin with, and they've run into a number of issues with it. First of all, you have a director, Doug Liman, who is known for being kind of a troublemaker, if you want to call it, or problematic. He's talented. He made the Born Identity movie. He did a good job. He made money for the studio, but he annoyed them so much that they just didn't want him to come back for a sequel. They're like, we don't care what he did here. We just never want to see him here again. And I guess he kind of has that effect on people. Now, he's upset because Amazon won't release this movie theatrically, and he's going around. He's like, "Oh, this is an Academy Award worthy production," and I'm like, you know,
Wow.
it's a remake of
Wow.
Roadhouse. You know, I think that the guy is sort of a bit delusional. Uh, Meanwhile, also, it turns out that Amazon actually paid money, including to the actors, to everything. They paid him a special fee for them to be able to release it on streaming, meaning it was more
Oh my
lucrative to do
goodness.
this for a streaming movie for some reason, and everybody got paid. And after the fact, this Doug Liman director, he's complaining and he's mad, and you had like Jake Gyllenhaal running kind of interference for the studio, saying, "I really appreciate his passion, but we always said it was streaming. It's such a good whatever," and like trying to smoothen things out. Then, in addition, you have some other issue where apparently. See, I think that they only had the rights to make this movie for a certain amount of time. This happens sometimes. It happened with Top Gun recently that they're being sued Paramount for a similar reason. Uh, Basically, if they weren't going to make a movie by November 2023, then they lose the rights. So there was
Oh.
all this strikes and all this other stuff, and there's a lawsuit that claims that basically Amazon used AI to replicate actors' voices during the strike, and that's how they were able to finish the movie. This is a weird sort of can of worms because it puts Amazon in a situation where they either have to admit that they used AI, which you know it's unclear if they were allowed to do that or not contractually, and they either
I
admit
wa-
that
wow.
they
I
either
wonder how
admit
they came to that.
well, basically, since actors were striking, they couldn't finish. If anybody needs to do ADR or stuff like that, they couldn't do that. In some cases, what you do in situations like this, what studios do is option one. They a lot of times have a person that has a voice that's very similar to the actor.
Okay.
Apparently, let's say I just even learned this recently that there's like Cameron Diaz. There's some woman, an actress, I forgot her name, that's far lesser known, and she has a very similar voice to Cameron Diaz. So if they're doing kind of looping after the movie is filmed and Cameron Diaz isn't available, they'll sometimes call this other actress, and maybe a few lines of the movie she'll be saying it, and you won't even notice. Meaning it'll be Cameron Diaz's lips moving, but it'll be this actress, it'll actually be her voice.
Wow,
I
that's
didn't
crazy that they
I
do
wasn't
that.
aware that this was a whole business that they actually do this, but this is actually a thing. Now, in this case, probably they couldn't hire those actors because that would also be some kind of union issue. So,
I
did they
see.
use AI? Now, there's different schools of thought on this. On one hand, if they used it could be bad, and if they signed an agreement with the actors, they're probably not supposed to use AI. The question is, what happens if while they were still negotiating and they didn't actually reach a deal, they used the AI then? So then it's unclear. Now, Amazon claims they didn't do AI, but if they claim that they didn't do AI, then the person is like, well, you had until November 2023. When did you do the voices? So whoever is suing here is trying to prove that Amazon basically either ran out of time and then violated their contract by working on the movie after November 2023, or if nothing else, they betrayed the actors and they're just trying to, stir up a mess for them. Uh,
And this is for a film that no one really asked for in the first place.
no,
But
nobody, no, who
but he
wanted
thinks it's his magnum opus. Or-
this is all very weird. So he's not suing them. He's just bitter. The director is bitter, and then the person that owns the rights to it, he's suing them. This is two separate issues. They're dealing with a bitter director and a separate person suing them
I
because they used
see.
AI for the actors. This is all weird stuff. It could be that in order for this mess to go away, Amazon will just cut somebody a check and make him go away, uh, unless he has really. I don't know. I mean that seems the most likely out of all the scenarios, but who knows? But I agree with you. Nobody really asked for this movie. I think that the original movie, the reason people liked it is because Patrick Swayze had a certain charm about him, and the movie itself is it's almost like a guilty pleasure. Have you seen Roadhouse?
No, I've not seen it, which is even more surprising that it's being fought so hard for as a remake
It,
by that guy.
it is a movie that's very kind of campy and silly. He's like a bartender at a bar, and he like does like it's sort of martial arts or something. He's like and like beating up people, and there's some evil guy that wants to destroy the thing, and they're all beating it. I haven't watched it in a while, but it doesn't get more kind of campy, cheesy, and 80s ridiculous. The only thing that it has going for it is that you have Patrick Swayze in his prime, really, really bringing a lot of charm to this role, making it this kind of cult B movie, but really cool for whatever it's supposed to be. But you'll watch it and you're kind of going to laugh at how ridiculous it is and kind of
Yeah.
enjoy it at the same time. And Sam Elliott also brings, imagine 80s, this is just, it's very much this kind of cult movie of its day, but there's something charming about it. Late 80s, whatever it is. There's a lot of charm in this movie, and it's not one that I would think would easily be replicated with Jake Gyllenhaal suddenly. Now, I think I was told that they're trying to take it more seriously. They brought Conor McGregor to fight him. I don't even know, but it doesn't look like something I asked for. And I feel like if this thing was such a big deal, if somebody from Amazon sat down, watched this and thought, this is the best movie that I've ever seen ever, then they would have said, you know what? Why don't we do a theatrical release? If they thought this was this good. I think that they looked at it and they probably said, this is good enough to be on our streaming service. It'll be there. A few people will watch it. Once it's on streaming, it's less, you don't need all the critics sitting there. You don't need everybody throwing like tomatoes at you all day, whatever. You can just release the movie and it is what it is. And I think that if this was that great, I think Amazon would have had more of an incentive to release it into theater. Personally, I really, it's almost like a lightning in a bottle, campy, guilty pleasure type of cult movie. I don't know that they'll be able to replicate it. I suspect this isn't going to be an Oscar-worthy production, the way this guy thinks.
Yeah.
But interesting also what you can do with AI, though, and that the fact that they would use AI to replicate actors' voices. I almost felt that during Madame Web that the villain had an AI replicating his voice, because his lips were moving and he was saying other things, and the delivery was so dry. I mean, I really threw the actor under the bus in my review. I don't know if it's his fault. Maybe it's an AI speaking. It sounds so mechanical.
I do know. I mean, the editing was absolutely poor. I don't know if I couldn't tell if they were using anything like AI or if their editing was just so bad that they just kind of thought right near the end of the film that it just wasn't working. And so they decided to just put this other voice in there that totally does not even align with what he's saying. I've seen that happen in movies before. I mean, I catch it all the time, but it's done a lot more subtly. This is just like right in your face, just like, hey, our editing sucks. And just kind of scream it at you, especially with that villain. Like, but I don't know if it could be AI, though.
I was laughing. Every time that villain spoke, I was laughing. I was cackling. I was laughing so hard in the theater. I probably told you this, that there were moments in the film that I was laughing so hard that like I was dizzy because I was laughing so hard.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a pretty laughable film. Unintentionally, of course.
Unintentionally. It didn't mean to amuse me. And really, there were also enough moments that were just stupid and like I was just kind of rolling my eyes. But sometimes it hit these kind of ridiculous moments that were so awful that I just burst out laughing. And then I looked around and I'm in an empty theater, and it became even funnier. Like I have a whole theater to myself where I'm sitting around and cackling like the Joker, watching this dumb movie, and there's nobody there to even, there's nobody to say, hey man, like I'm trying to watch this movie. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have that. I could have I just could laugh like my ass off, and there was nobody there to say anything. Just like very
going back
surreal.
and like watching those scenes again. I've seen it a second time, but like each time I go back and think about them and watch those scenes, they get even funnier. Especially, that assistant that just hears him saying to her face that he's going to just kill these teenage girls, and she's totally cool with it. And she's like, "Here, let me help you find them." She seems like a normal person.
It may go down, eventually. It may be one of those things, like those kind of mystery science theater. You know what I mean? That Madame Web will be a thing where I think that people online, there'll be groups of YouTubers just sitting there dissecting the movie. It's one of the things
For
that
years.
you grab a few beers, you sit there, and laugh your ass off. Not because it's a good movie. It's just because it's so bad that it's laughably bad.
Yeah,
It
remember how
may
bad this was? Those were the days.
it may achieve that kind of status, like the Room of superhero movies, if that makes sense. Maybe one day,
Yeah.
but I suspected that in that movie they used some kind of AI in the villain. I don't know. It is interesting that they can use AI to replicate people's voices. They have done that in stuff like the Mandalorian, not the Mandalorian. Obi-Wan Kenobi, the show, they wanted to have James Earl Jones as Darth Vader. So they've basically paid him to use his voice. They have the rights to his voice. And now
Wow.
when you see Darth Vader and he says something, and like in the Obi-Wan show, it was all done, I think, through AI. It was basically they fed all of the audio they've ever had of James Earl Jones as Darth Vader, and then they just put in a sentence and the AI says it. And
It was
even
for
though
Kenobi?
yeah, in Kenobi, I believe that anytime you hear Darth Vader, this is a algorithm. It's an AI, artificial intelligence, uh, speaking with all the data they have of James Earl Jones and rendering it. They type a sentence, press enter, and then the software just speaks like James Earl
Dude,
Jones.
that is insane that they do that because like one of the biggest things or one of their biggest like marketing strategies was telling people that they brought James Earl Jones's voice back.
I mean,
But they only
technically,
brought it back with AI.
right, they brought it back with AI. That's what I believe. I think that they've worked out some kind of deal with him. I mean, to be fair, if you listen to him today, he does sound significantly older. He can't speak the same way that he did. So I think
That's
that
true.
if
That's
you look at
true.
Rogue One, I mean, I was happy to see Darth Vader, but if you listen to how he talks in Rogue One, he certainly sounds older. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
he this was already several years ago, and he's barely hanging by a thread there in that Rogue One. Just doesn't have that same deep voice. You don't get to keep that kind of voice forever. But for
I
me, when
see.
you look at Obi-Wan Kenobi the series, there really is something kind of lifeless and dull about the way the few lines, whatever you hear him deliver, they really do sound AI-ish. I
Yeah.
feel like there's still some kind of like personal character that's unpredictable that James Earl Jones brought the way he voiced the thing originally. And no matter how many algorithms and how many things you process or pump into some machine, it just doesn't come out. There's something off about it. And if you
Yeah.
look at that Obi-Wan, I mean, the show itself is crap to begin with, but if you look at that Obi-Wan, you'll see that there's some AI thing going on there. I think they did something similar with Luke. His appearance, especially in Book of Boba Fett, where you see Luke training Grogu and then throwing him away. If you
Wow.
remember that,
I do remember. I
so
do.
so if you hear like Luke talking, he's like like there's something about it. Like if you look at it, that's also they paid Mark Hamill. They're using his audio from earlier movies that they have isolated. They pump it into a machine, and then that's why he's like, "Hi, Grogu, I am going into." Like there's something about it. There's something that when you listen to how he speaks, it kind of like they try to make it seem like he's very spiritual or whatever. There's something off about that too. Like
Yeah.
if you really look at it, and also from what I understand, the whole Luke Skywalker figure there was all like CGI in that one. I mean, they basically paid Mark Hamill for his likeness. He was on set for the season 2 finale. But once they did
Okay.
that Boba Fett thing, it's not his voice. It's not even him being there. I think there isn't even an actor there. I think it was all just like computer generated, and that's why he kind of looks lifeless and weird.
Yeah, and that's not even like the first. I mean, there's something else that's been going on with actors not being present, especially if you're talking about Star Wars actors like Pedro Pascal. He's not even present in his own role. Who's being who's basically being stunted by a completely different stunt actor, and while he's not even there, just voicing the lines.
Yeah,
How many of his lines were actually his too? It just
you know what?
raises
And
that question.
Pedro Pascal would be the easiest person to replace with AI because even when he's there in person, he sounds like he's an AI. He's like, "Hey,
Yeah.
Grogu,"
Yeah, I can totally see that. I can totally see him
totally.
just like ripping his voice and not even talking to him
You
about it.
could
And he's
you
just
could
like, I'm
repl-
cool.
you could replace Pedro Pascal's voice with AI in The Mandalorian, and nobody would notice. I couldn't tell the difference.
Well, it's a pretty generic voice, like when he's under the helmet, and I think that was the point. But there was so much personality behind his character, at first.
at first. Again, now it's on Easy Street. He doesn't have to show up, and I think at some point he's not even gonna have to do the lines. They just feed it into an AI. He kind of has that
That's
lifeless.
insane.
Yeah, I mean
That's probably going to bring it's just going to bring diminishing returns. Like every time you announce an actor for a voicing of a role now, and like this kind of news is spreading like wildfire. I mean, you're going to have people just being completely detached and disinterested from films when they hear these actors' names now, because there's always that chance that those lines are just being phoned in using technology that completely masks the reality of what's behind it. I mean, that's just crazy stuff. It's crazy that we can even do that, but it also paints a pretty unhealthy picture for the future of cinema when AI is being so heavily incorporated into things that they shouldn't be.
For sure. I mean, just so you know, and I don't have any way to prove it, but this is what I've been told, because some of these shots maybe it's hard to tell. But in movies like Multiverse of Madness, that they keep
Mhm.
reshooting over and over, there are certain situations that they may not even bring the actor anymore for a reshoot. They just sort of use some kind of computer generated imagery. Maybe some AI is talking. You know what I mean? They're going to
Right.
rely more and more. And I think in that movie, there's scenes with Elizabeth Olsen that it's just some computer aided generated, yeah, especially like a long shot you see her doing
Yeah.
something completely computer generated.
Didn't they
I
do something like that with Wonder Woman in Shazam 2? Was that true that she was replaced, or that somebody there was a stand-in for her and they used AI to generate her face onto that actress's face, like Gal Gadot wasn't even there as her cameo appearance in Shazam 2?
You know what, I'm not sure, I didn't know that, but it wouldn't
So yeah,
surprise
I had
me.
read something about that Gal Gadot, that it was a controversial scene because Gal Gadot wasn't there. I don't, and
I just
it was
assumed that she was, maybe like they pasted her with green screen.
yeah, that could be it too. That could be it too, which also sucks.
They do that too much also.
Yeah, it's very, but they do things like that all the time. I mean, they did that with Admiral. I think it was Admiral Tarkin in Rogue One. That was actually one of the first times I had seen them use computer imagery on somebody else's face, apart from Looper. But which I thought it was really well done for. I think I'm getting his name right. I could be getting it wrong, but I've seen them do that so well, and then you've seen it done so wrong with Carrie Fisher. And I think they used her daughter for some and then put Carrie Fisher's computer image face on that in Rogue One.
Okay,
And sometimes it doesn't translate well.
In Rogue One, what they did was they had a Swedish actress that they thought kind of looked like her, and then they
Okay.
pasted through computer images. They pasted her eyes or whatever on this other actress. You have to understand, in the past 7 years, a lot has changed in terms of what they can do, and
Yeah.
their approach then was a little different. Every year, it kept on getting more refined. So in that sense, I think they pasted the eyes sort of from what they had in A New Hope onto this
Yeah.
Swedish actress that they thought sort of looked like a younger her. And then when she says Hope, then they just use like from the first Star Wars movie where she goes, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope." So they just took the hope there, stuck it onto her face with the Swedish lady in the eyes. It
And
doesn't
Bob's
look
your uncle.
it doesn't look good, but it's so quick that you kind of let it slide. I mean, when it comes to Tarkin, what they did in the movie there with Peter Cushing, that stands out more. That
Mhm.
actually is more noticeable. But the technology keeps getting better. I mean, if you look at that movie Tron, which one of the early ones to do it, that there's basically a second Jeff Bridges that's sort of younger.
Right.
You look at that; it's very much the uncanny valley, and there's still kind of, it was the early phases of trying to get this type of motion cap technology, artificial, CGI, that kind of thing of making somebody de-aged and stuff like that. That was one of the
Mhm.
first earliest examples of that. I mean, maybe the first example was actually in one of those X-Men movies where they had Patrick Stewart. They do like a flashback or something,
Yeah.
and
Right,
then
right.
you see him, like, he looks suddenly young or something, that like
That
that
was
was
X-Men Origins, I think, when Oh, no. That they had Xavier when he was younger walking, but they also they did it in X-Men Origins Wolverine, and they like had CGI'd him young, but dude, he looked so weird. Like some
Yeah, I
strange
mean,
CGI vampire.
yeah, I mean, this was the first time that they actually tried to do this. You know, in other early things, maybe Benjamin Button, things like that, they had different things, but those are different.
Yeah.
All of them use different type of techniques and different things. We've come very far away since then, but I think you know, it seemed inevitable that one day that the cinema would be relying so much on this AI stuff, but it really feels like at some point they're so lazy they're not even going to need actors. You know what I mean? They're just going to have AI voice, AI actor, AI this, AI that, and there's something about that that I don't like. I mean, I like the old fashioned. You know, there's something that with all this machinery, with all this artificial stuff, you lose some kind of character
Yeah.
that I think that you just can't get by using these tactics. But
Yeah, I don't know who's pushing that idea so hard, but you know, when you have like, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars put into film budgets with like with these movies that are higher production and low quality with bad writing and it like just incorporating AI is such a bad idea, considering the current climate with how much people are pushing back on current day cinema these days. And it just seems so careless. And but maybe it's such a big corporate thing, and there's a huge communication wall being put between us and those up there who are, you know, handling the budgets and greenlighting these movies. I think it's a disaster, and I honestly don't know how we can come out of it, especially with AI being pushed so hard.
you know, things change all the time. It used to be that people would sit and watch people do plays, and then suddenly somebody invented cinema. Things change all the time, and I guess nothing lasts forever. No medium, nothing. I guess in the world lasts forever, and things
Yeah,
change. And I feel like we're gradually shifting into something else, both in entertainment and outside of it. And where we're going to end up and how it's going to be, I can't really say. It doesn't seem like we're heading in a good direction, but who knows? Maybe
yeah.
one day I'll be pleasantly surprised and all this will be great. But to me, it looks like, especially when it comes to cinema, so much damage over the past 7 years has been done to cinema. 7, 8 years already, and
Yeah.
man, I hope there's still something that could be done to reverse it, but it's not going to be easy, and it's going to take time also. Even though I think Hollywood is starting to learn some lessons, at least when we see flops like Madam Web and the Marvels, I think they're starting to understand that some of this agenda stuff that they're peddling, it doesn't sell. At the end, these companies have to make money. There will be a moment that some of these companies have to realize that, which sort of brings me to my next thing that I wanted to discuss here, which is very interesting. Um, they're making this movie, this ballerina movie, which is a spin-off of John Wick.
Okay.
Apparently, Keanu Reeves has a small role in it. I think maybe he makes an appearance, probably just shows up and says, "Hey, what's up?" and leaves. But it's tied to the John Wick franchise. It's supposed to, I think, be taking place between the third and fourth movie for some reason.
Hmm.
And this movie, which I never thought it was a good idea to begin with, this movie is now being delayed for a whole year. And they initially
Wow.
tried to make it seem, oh, no, they got some additional scenes, they got some additional whatever. But Ian McShane, who's actually in this movie in an interview, really spilled the beans on it. This is actually a different article, which here.
Oh man, the big man himself, huh? He does. Oh, ooh, this can be spicy.
Okay, so female-led John Wick spin-off ballerina with Ana de Armas delayed 1 year for massive reshoots. I like that bounding into comics here with Jacob Smith, I think, gave a more, the Hollywood Reporter gave the kind of diplomatic, safe, mainstream, shilly reporting. I think that Jacob here did a better job. And
Okay.
he was also thorough in the sense that I'm trying to find this. Where is it? It disappeared. Oh, okay. So Ian McShane had something to say about it, and this is really interesting. Let me play this. Can you hear it?
And then we go on to
Yeah.
Budapest. It's not reshoots, it's new shoots. the new shooting for Ballerina, which is the spin-off with Ana de Armas of the John Wick franchise. You know, it's like they've got to protect the franchise. Obviously, I did it. When was it? We did about a year ago. We did the movie Ballerina, and they've looked at it. And Chad's come in. The guy's directed all the John Wick movies, and they want to make it better because they have to protect. Because Keanu's in it as well, and it takes place between John Wick 3 and John Wick 4.
Oh.
Okay,
So it's
right.
So
I see.
I've
So
just
they'll
finished
still-
watching the Continental, the prequel to. No, have I
I've
said
never,
the wrong thing?
why would I say no? Not wrong. That no, they never asked anybody. They just went and did it. And you
Did
go,
they?
Yeah, I said, and just went and did it with somebody asked Keanu and me about it. We both went, I don't know. Nobody ever asked us about it.
Thanks for bringing that up, Ant.
That's
And all of a sudden it's going, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
What put end to it?
They just did
I
a
actually
sexy.
quite liked it.
They just did a
Sexy
Beast
Beast one as well.
Sexy Beast
Did they ask you about that?
No.
We'll end it there. Cheers, Ant.
So basically, what he says here is for people that he kind of spoke in his funny accent. This isn't just a few reshoots or a few minor things. This is brand new shoots. This is a major overhaul of the movie. And he was saying, we got to protect the franchise, meaning Chad Stelevsky, or however you pronounce his name, who's not only the director of the John Wick movies, but he's sort of the guy who's the sort of in charge of the whole franchise. He is the number one person in the John Wick franchise. He saw what they did with this movie, and he's like, okay, we're going to need a year now to extensively reshoot this movie, which means that what he saw, he didn't like. My speculation, if I had to speculate, I think that this guy, his action scenes are very important to him. I think that whatever they did here with Ana de Armas must not have been convincing. Maybe it was too girl bossy. Maybe she physically, these fight scenes didn't look good to him. And he wanted something that looked more realistic, because we see so many of these movies today where you see like a woman who's like 20 pounds throwing around guys across the room that are 500 pounds. I can't say that this is what the movie looked like, but if this guy looked at it and he said, okay, stop everything, we're going to redo this movie, it can't be because he thought what he was looking at was good. And when Ian McShane says, we got to protect the franchise, that doesn't sound good. You know what I mean? This is not a vote of confidence in this thing. The question is if he can step in and really do such a big reshoot and change, the sentiment, how he felt about this movie, can make it something good or not. But I never asked for a female John Wick movie to begin with.
I honestly I don't know what I think about a spin-off. I don't know if I'm like completely against it, but I of course didn't ask for it. I don't think that the choice of Ana de Armas is I don't think she's a bad choice. She's a good actress, and she has an appeal. But I don't know if I even really cared about it. But I do think it's interesting that they say that they were protecting the franchise, because to me that kind of implies that whatever they had on hand had the potential to ruin the franchise, and which makes me wonder why also that it was delayed an entire year. Because when you do something like that, it can't just be for one aspect of the movie. It can't just be because that she was girl bossy, or it can't just be because the script wasn't all that great. It had to have been a number of different reasons that kind of coalesced and brought the director to this, the guy who made this all possible, bringing him to such a position where he's just like, well, no, stop the presses, go back to the drawing board, and bring it back.
I mean, it must not have been good. Here's the thing. His bread and butter is cool action. Cool movie with cool action. I assume that if he looked at it and something bothered him that much, then there's something about the action here that he didn't like. Also, keep in mind, studios are now noticing what happened to Madam Web, what happened to movies like the Marvels. They don't want some girl boss thing that everybody's laughing at them.
Right.
The days of saying, oh, we put a strong woman here, maybe some few women will come see it. I think they're starting to wake up, smelling the roses, or whatever you want to call it. There's a sentiment here that this kind of crappy, cheap, stupid maneuver that all these studios have been trying to do is working. and they're losing money and they're becoming laughing stock. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that it's 100% because of that, but after these kind of failures, this is a female-centric movie. This is a male-centric franchise, and they tried to make a female-centric movie. Now, the only way that this is going to work, at least they chose an actress which is, easy on the eyes. They didn't choose somebody who's unpleasant to look at. But to be honest, I mean, as much as I think she looks nice, to carry a whole action movie herself, also acting-wise. Somebody I think once nominated her for some Academy Award or something, but let's be honest here. She's not Academy Award material. She's an okay actress. She's boosted by the fact that she looks nice. There's nothing wrong with it. There's plenty of roles that could be good for her. A woman who's just an okay actress and looks nice. I mean, there's certainly actresses like that.
Right.
I don't underestimate the looking good part. You know what I mean? Like, don't underestimate that. I like women that look good. Most men do. But to do an action thing, a whole movie that she's like the John Wick character, the female John Wick, I don't know, man. You know what I mean?
No, that obviously no. She could never. I mean, she could never really fill those shoes ever. Not just for physical reasons, but just because Keanu Reeves brings with him a lot of stunt history, which is kind of like an unwritten or unsung joke about. It's kind of like the inside joke of the movie as well, that Keanu Reeves is back, not just in the movie, but back to his incredible stunt work that he was able to do back when he was making the Matrix movies. He brings that with him,
and he has a very he has this charm. I'm not going to lie to you and say that I think that Keanu Reeves is the best actor that ever lived. I think that he has this natural likability about him. He's good in these type of roles. He invests time in these kind of action sequences, really good at doing those. And I think that he's good. He's well cast for the role. He fits the part. He does it well. Ana de Armas still hasn't proven to me in any movie that she's that kind of actress that can even forget about action. I don't know how many movies that you say starring Ana de Armas and she's carrying the whole movie acting wise.
Yeah,
I can't think of movies like that. She's not. She's an actress that if there's a movie that cool stuff is happening and there's she's also there and she's looking good in the movie, that's good. I think that's the best way to use her skills. And it's not to be mean or anything, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just being honest. There are actresses that I think are good. Some people were upset at me because I said that Zendaya wasn't so good in Dune 2. And they're like, oh, you're an istanophobe, and I don't know what they were saying about me. But the truth is, I think that, let's say, Rebecca Ferguson, who played, the Reverend Mother, Paul's mother, I think that she was fantastic. I really like that actress. I think she put in a really good performance. The fact, I'm not sitting here saying that a woman can't be in a movie and do a great job. It's just sometimes somebody just isn't right for a certain role. I mean, there are roles that maybe, if they require just some fun, campy thing or whatever, and you just need a woman that kind of looks pleasant or whatever. Maybe okay, or maybe if she's a love interest to some kind of action man, you know what I mean? Maybe even working alongside an action man, kind of like that Gray Man movie, which was a stinker in and of itself with Ryan Gosling. Maybe in that capacity she could be okay, but to be the female John Wick, I don't know, man. I think that probably that Chad Stilevsky or whatever his name is looked at it and he probably said, I wish we hadn't even done this thing. I wish we'd never made this movie. Nobody looks at a movie and says, we have to shoot for another year now to try to save this turd. That seems like, deep down inside now, if you ask him and you say, if you had a time machine, go back and make this movie not happen, I don't think he makes it happen. Now he's just trying to clean up this mess. And maybe he'll do it. Maybe he can, maybe he can't.
Yeah. No, I think that. Well, I certainly think that he'll probably try to make the stunts better, and it's actually funny you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that because I was wondering myself if maybe the stunt work and the choreography and the action just isn't hitting right, and maybe that's one of the major changes that they're trying to make and why they brought him in because he just he has he has the correct vision when it comes to John Wick like action. And I think also that stunts for Ana de Armas, and maybe it's possible that she put in the work to make these action scenes look great. But again, they're also they're also trying to compare her to Keanu Reeves's work, and like the kind of stunt work and training that Keanu Reeves went through. I mean, that kind of stuff was next level. I mean, it was kind of like a pseudo passion project between Chad Stahelski and Keanu Reeves coming back. And this dude was like training, he was learning weapon discipline. And
he's a veteran when it comes to these kind of things. He's already no stranger to action.
Right.
Of course, some of his stuff has been more science fiction, but Speed was more of an action. He's cemented his place as an action / cool sci-fi guy, likable personality. Yes, if you're gonna do like Shakespeare, like some kind of Shakespearean drama, I don't know if I would cast him in it. But if you if you need a guy that can just be likable and do that action and do this cool sci-fi stuff, I think he's earned that position, and he's a very likable guy. And he's suitable to lead a movie like this. Whereas Ana de Armas, she's pleasant to look at and not unlikable if there's other people around her that could, put in a better acting performance. And really, it's nothing personal. That's just how I feel.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I 100% agree. I think that Keanu Reeves would be great in Phantom of the Opera. But I mean, of course, that I digress. Yeah, I think he'd be great.
He'd be good in Othello.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Hamlet. I want to see him as Hamlet.
You absolutely nail those roles, and people are just haters. That's all it is.
You know what? If he did Hamlet, I think people just out of sheer curiosity would go watch it. You know what I mean? Maybe
it would sell out theaters, man.
Yeah, if he did it in the theater, it's like a theatrical production of Keanu Reeves doing Hamlet. People are going to go see it, even if whatever his performance is, everybody's just going to be happy to see him. It'll be kind of like Ted from Bill and Ted doing Hamlet.
Yeah,
that's how I would approach it if I were him. I would have everybody acting super seriously and just have him act like Ted doing like Hamlet. I think that people would be mesmerized by this.
Oh, that'd be crazy! Just playing like a role within a role. That is next level Keanu Reeves.
Next level. I would want to see that. If it was Ted, if it was him as Ted playing Hamlet, like with a bunch of serious actors, sheer curiosity. I'd have to see that.
Yeah. I don't know if Ana de Armas could do it though. I don't know.
No, she doesn't have the thing. I mean, it's another one of those actors that Hollywood's like, let's shove her into everything. She can do this. Is one of our people that we're shoving. It's like, yeah, she's all right, but I mean, they're like, oh, we need Marilyn Monroe. Why don't she do it? I mean, between you and me, she doesn't have an American accent, and Marilyn Monroe did have an American accent. You kind of need
why didn't we? Sorry to cut you off, man. Why didn't we just do a movie, a spinoff off of the lady that he teams up with in John Wick 3 with the dog?
Are you talking about there was Halle Berry was
Halle Berry's role? Halle Berry's role. Like, why didn't they make a movie with her? She was awesome, and they didn't expand on her.
I consider Halle Berry a better actress than Ana de Armas, and I like Halle Berry. I would have preferred something like that. I can't say as to what they were trying to do. I mean, I assume that they thought to themselves, Ana de Armas is this kind of young it girl. She also had the few moments in Bond, in that crappy James Bond movie. Where did you see the James Bond where Ana de Armas was in it?
That's the most recent one, right?
Yes.
I have not actually seen that one.
You did yourself
I was actually
a favor.
afraid to.
You did yourself a favor. That is a movie that has a lot of issues, mainly the ending. I don't know,
I've heard the ending.
I don't want to spoil it for people. It's been already out for years. I think everybody knows by now. I mean, it's not really a spoiler, but let's just focus on the part of Ana de Armas in this movie. Now, there's a part that you see her, and she kind of looks nice. She could have been this kind of cool Bond girl. It could have been an interesting scene. And immediately when James Bond sees her, he thinks that she's flirting with him, so he kind of makes some kind of flirty comeback, and then she laughs at him like, oh, as if this old idiot would think that I would ever even be attracted to him, and that's how the scene ends. And it's
of course. I mean, James Bond. I mean, I think he's
the thing is that this isn't some bum. This is James Bond, of course. This is his thing. He goes and the ladies like him. If That
Well,
last
not in this day and age.
that last James Bond movie really went out of its way to make it clear that the ladies aren't into Bond. He's just some old jerk
Yeah.
loser that they don't like. And the end of the movie is they humiliate him in the worst way possible. It's such an embarrassment, that movie. So I think that maybe they saw her in that and they're like, oh, she's cool. She's Ana de Armas. Why don't we put her in this John Wick thing? Well,
she can
she
shut
wasn't.
a man down.
She has one thing going for her. She looks nice, but that can only get you so far. There's plenty of actresses that look nice. Sure, it's better to have an actress that looks nice than one that doesn't look nice. I'll give them that. That's already like an advantage. But an action movie, the type of charisma and personality you need to be this action John Wick lady that carries a whole movie, I just don't think that she has that. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately,
Certainly not.
I just don't think that's something she has in her.
I mean,
wheelhouse.
maybe they could surprise us, but like they would have to at least match what Halle Berry did, or somehow improve upon it if they're going to give her an entire own movie out of completely nowhere. I mean,
I agree.
Fans already had believed that like Halle Berry's character should have had a movie on her own. Like I've watched that scene. I've watched that movie numerous times. I've watched the scene on the internet numerous times, and all the people in the comments always talking about how they're like it's baffling to the mind that she doesn't have her own film when she is just portrayed so awesome. Like there was nothing cooler than seeing her tell her dog to go kill a guy. It was hilarious and really exciting.
Halle Berry is an actress that I've always liked. I've always liked this actress. I think that she's maintained herself also very well. I've always liked her look. I've liked her personality, her charm, her on-screen presence. She has a lot of things that Ana de Armas doesn't have. Ana de Armas looks pleasant, but again, lacking in a lot of other stuff. Just recently, she had this movie with Chris Evans. They spent a ton of money on it, a ton of money, and it was a huge failure for Apple. It was like a laughingstock. They spent so much money on this movie, and it ended up being basically unwatchable.
Weren't
this
they like
movie,
not in the same place in that movie? Like they were filmed like as if they're together, but like they never even saw each other on set.
It seems like it. I think, the sad thing is I think they did see each other, but the acting is so bad that you're convinced that maybe they never saw each other, because you can't imagine how the acting would be so bad. And I think that movie really helped dispel some myths. The myth that Chris Evans outside of Captain America is some like big actor, I think he really understood in that movie that he isn't. And in addition, she basically you saw in that movie that she's not all that either. You know what I mean? It kind of it sort of was like it pulled the curtain off, or I don't know what. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but it's sort of
I mean, it is quite the step down. And I've actually seen Chris Evans in roles like that before, which he also did not do very good. I mean, he's played like this hokey pokey dude at a train station who's like homeless and stuff, and he just as uncharismatic as he looked in this newest movie too. But like for some reason, he nailed Captain America.
You know what? Captain America needed a certain kind of vibe, and sometimes an actor has something that he can give that's right. He's right for Captain America. That was a good role for him.
Right.
He was good for that role. Sometimes that happens. Also, for Captain America, you maybe you don't need Charlton Heston. You know what I mean? Like you know. Yeah, you sometimes need a guy that just comes in and does whatever Chris Evans does. It was perfect for that role. He physically went to the gym. He had the right look. He made the right faces at the right time, and it was good enough. You know what I mean? There was some cool action. He had that kind of quote-unquote wholesome, because he's actually kind of lacking in kind of this edginess. It actually suited Captain America, who's supposed to be this kind of old school kind of good guy, whatever. It somehow worked.
Yeah.
But outside of that, when they're like, he's tried to be in that movie, in that Gray Man movie, he's like a villain with a mustache. Did you see that movie, Gray Man?
What's his name? Lloyd? That's his name.
Is that his name in the movie?
It's either Lloyd's either the Gray Man or Lloyd's the guy he's against. And they put emphasis.
Yes,
on
Lloyd.
him.
Lloyd Hansen is name, and this is what he looks like. Let me see if we can share this. Where is this thing? I want to show the picture of how he looks in the Gray Man.
Literal mustache villain.
Mustache villain. He's really not good in this movie. Trying to find an image that shows how annoying. Yeah, here it is. Maybe this.
like where he channels, he doesn't so much channel action star energy, but more like he channels not another teen movie energy.
Yeah, I
Puts
mean,
into
and
the
that's
villain
maybe
role.
that's kind of what he's good for. This is what he looked like in The Gray Man, and I saw it and I thought to myself, he's not even good as a villain. He's not good as anything. You know what I mean? He was trying to be like, oh, I'm not just Captain America. I can be this villain with a mustache. He just seemed weird. I didn't like him in that movie. I think Ana de Armas was actually in this movie too, and in this movie they both somehow got away with it because there were several other actors that were better in the movie, but these two to carry a movie. They just couldn't
Okay.
do it.
That's actually fair. Well, I'm sorry. I thought Whalem 03. I actually kind of agree with what they said when he said he was okay in Snowpiercer. I actually think that Chris Evans was pretty good in Snowpiercer, but I think that the material that he was given was really good. And he
I
was
don't
able
think
to
I
pull it
saw
off.
Snowpiercer, so I don't know what to say about it. But
I mean, to be fair, he plays like the kind of guy that you would see on a Snowpiercer train in the back, like a bearded white guy like everyone else.
so Chris,
But
you're talking about Chris Evans?
Yeah, Chris Evans. Yeah, he played a dude, and he was actually pretty good because there was some great action in there, and his performance.
I didn't
was
see
pretty
it,
good.
so I don't want to speak out of it's something that I would have to watch. I'm
would
not
have to watch it,
discrediting what
yeah,
you're
yeah.
saying. In most of the roles that I've seen him, I didn't like him. I liked him as Captain America. I thought that was good. As the Human Torch, surprisingly, in Fantastic Four in those Jessica Alba movies, didn't hate him either. Surprisingly, I thought he was okay there. But maybe when there's mostly other people around him, it kind of offsets his lack of character, and he can somehow be sort of a supporting actor of sorts. But once it's a situation where he's like the guy carrying the movie, a lot of times it feels like he's just lacking in that department. And I feel like Ana de Armas suffers. She's the female version of that. She suffers from that as well.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I don't have, some people are saying, well, if that Chad Stahelski guy, he wanted to reshoot the movie, he probably knows what he's doing. Don't underestimate him. And I'm not underestimating him, but at the same time, once the movie, it's rare that you see a movie that somebody's like, we're going to have to do a whole year of reshoots where we reshoot everything. That usually isn't a good sign. It feels like when that happens is that it's very, very rare, except for like Sonic when they reanimated him or whatever, which is a different type of situation. Most of the time when they say that, that means there's a disaster on the horizon. And
I wonder how much money they've spent on this already, because it's gonna cost a lot to do an entire year of reshoots. So
at this point, I don't even know if this movie makes any money. You know what I mean? Like this is now a point where it's like we have to save face here. You know what I mean? It's like this is so embarrassing that they'd rather have to save face than do the thing. By the way, I don't know if you've seen movies. When I went to DUNE, there were some movies that they did trailers for. So they had Planet of the Apes. I don't even remember which Planet of the Apes. Is it Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes?
I believe that's what it's called.
Let me see if I can
the newest one.
So yeah, it's the newest one, and I'll tell you something. I think that this movie, I'm not so excited about it. Sometimes that you feel like you've seen enough of these. I feel like I've seen enough of these movies. Maybe it'll be okay, but nothing in the trailer suggests that, like, wow, like it's kind of like the feeling I get with some of those Jurassic Park movies that they do over and over again. It's like, again, they're in a park. They're like, this time I'm opening a park and there'll be real live dinosaurs, but this time it'll be different. And then they arrive and the dinosaurs once again are running around killing people, and they're like, can't believe it. How did this happen again? And it's like, you know what I mean? And like this kingdom thing, I get it. The apes took over. They don't like the humans. Now the apes are in charge.
So Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, I kind of thought that the whole the movie franchise should have ended there. Now we did get a third movie, and I thought that one was really good too. But what I thought was that this was going to be a trilogy. I was actually really surprised when they announced this fourth movie. It's not even gonna be
It's an
Caesar
unnecessary. Yeah,
anymore.
it's like I feel like sometimes Hollywood doesn't like to learn. They like to learn that lesson the hard way. Like it seems like they should take a break, but they can't. They have to scratch that itch. I guess they kind of made a few dollars on the previous ones, and they're like, gotta make another one. Gotta make another one. And it's not the right thing to do. It would have been best to rest with these for a while longer. I don't think anybody is itching for this movie. Nothing about that trailer is very inviting. You know, maybe as somebody that reviews movie when it comes out, I'll watch it, but
Yeah.
certainly not very excited about it. I didn't see it and feel excited. That movie Furiosa, the female Mad Max girl power thingy, also, you know, not reading the
Yeah,
room in
yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed this in the past too, where we've talked about how like every time there's a remake announced, and like the more that's talked about it, there are red flags and worries that people have that they're, you know, what are they going to change? Like, is this going to be like a soft reboot? Like the fact that they're pushing this out when they don't have to. What are they going to change about the main characters? Like, what are they going to change to make it fit into, you know, modern day society, and, you know, like it's reflecting what the modern world is like today. There's all these kinds of worries when you have remakes and reboots, and it's becoming more prevalent, and people are becoming more aware of it. It's not. I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people just want to see some original work or stuff that hasn't been adapted in a long time. These rehashes, I mean, they should be thankful that they even got away with Mad Max Fury Road. And really, they got away with it because it was an early, you know, pre even Ghostbusters 2016, where they
Yeah.
started doing these kind of girl power type of things, but they were so rare within the landscape that they kind of went out unnoticeable. But even that, like, did I want to watch, you know, a Mad Max movie about her, which already they did that in that one? No. And to be honest with you, I didn't love the movie, even at the time, without really thinking why I didn't love it. I just felt it was just okay. You know what I mean? Like, for me, Road Warrior is better than that movie. You can tell me that the visuals in Fury Road were so stunning and whatever, and maybe they were, but Road Warrior has a lot more character. I would take Road Warrior over that Mad Max Fury Road any day of the week. And I
Right.
think that in and of itself, I don't think, if you watch that movie now, there's some cool visual stuff to look at it, but it kind of feels like a sham. And because of that movie, they said, okay, we'll do this Furiosa thing. Let's have her do, and then we'll make her an even bigger girl boss. And really, it's unnecessary for me. I don't care. I mean, there comes a point. It's not that I'm trying to be mean. You're like, oh, you're an istinophobe. Some people think or say or something like that. But I'm not trying to be mean. It's just like, these are genres that men like to watch. You know what I'm saying? I didn't need more of this. It would be one thing if once in a blue moon you try something like this out. Maybe there's some kind of femme fatale, whatever. There's a attractive woman, something, I don't know what. And it's, you know, even that, like we said with Ana de Armas, it's not enough. I mean, maybe attractive woman with good writing and some, you know, one that brings a lot of character to the character, a lot of edge or something, a lot of charisma. There are actresses that can do that. I mean, recently I rewatched the movie Mission Impossible. The not Mission, but the Dead Reckoning Part 1. Did you see that movie?
Yes, I did.
So in that one, let me see, Dead Reckoning. Let me see if I can. You know, in this movie, I want to tell you, I watched it again and I enjoyed it again. I love what they did with the female characters here. I think that Haley Atwell is awesome. I think she's really good in this movie. She's a balance between you like her, she's pleasant, but you also like her. And when she does action, it's not ridiculous in a way that you think, oh, this can't be. They're not afraid at certain moments to remind you that she is a woman. Sometimes she's sort of a femme fatale. She's smart. They don't make her like a dum-dum, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And she's also a human, also.
She's a human. She doesn't get everything right. She doesn't get everything wrong. You like her. She's appealing, but she's also smart. They managed to like really create a really cool character here. Even you know, the actress that plays Mantis, I think that they did something cool with her also here. You know, I
Yeah.
didn't mind that there's a lady walking around with a machine gun trying to kill people, and you know she's kind of this femme fatale. I like that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you can get men on board for having women who are competent and smart and have character and are interesting. You can get men on board for that if there's a good writing and there's a good idea. It just doesn't feel like those kind of dumb things. That Furiosa thing with you know, with
Let me see that poster again, where she looks like a caveman.
yeah, this is it right here. And another thing
She
is
looks all grumpy.
any remake that has Chris Hemsworth in it, that's a bad sign. That's like a red flag.
Yeah.
Anytime they've tried to do a remake and they're like, and we also got Chris Hemsworth, it's historically has ended up being bad. That's not the actor you want to add here. And
I did think like a lot of people approved of it. I actually saw Chris Hemsworth as like a weird off-putting kind of thing in the trailer. I watched the trailer and everyone was like really praising, like oh, Chris Hemsworth's going to be in it. He's looking ripped. He's looking awesome. I'm like, I don't know, man. But I don't know if it's because he's been in just so many Thor movies where he's just been like the comic relief version of Thor that we've always known. But it definitely translates into this movie. I just think that it's like, oh, well, Chris Hemsworth, he's going to be funny in this movie, or he's going to tell some jokes or be unconvincing as a bad guy. I mean, unless they have him doing like some really dirty, gritty stuff in this movie, I don't know.
I'm not sure, but I have zero excitement for this movie. And you know what? I think Anya Taylor-Joy, I was saying stuff about Zendaya. I think Anya Taylor-Joy is a pretty good actress. I don't dislike Chris Hemsworth. Somehow this isn't, you know, if you like Mad Max, I don't know if this movie is something that you asked for, wanted, or it's going to be anything that even appeals to you. Now, you could say, you know, it'll come out, you'll be wrong. Maybe you'll love it. And I'll tell you this, if it comes out and I love it, I'll always be honest. I'll always say, you know what? I didn't think I would like it, but I really do like this movie. I'm happy to say that. I'd prefer that would be the situation. But looking at it, until now, I'm not sold. Anything that they've showed me until now feels like the stuff that I didn't like about Fury Road is being taken to the next level in this one.
Yeah.
And I never asked for that personally. But
I would have loved to see Charlize Theron though.
Totally
I would have loved to see her.
What'd you say?
Oh, I'm sorry. I would have loved to see Charlize Theron actually reprise her role. That would have been fun.
Maybe a movie where Max is Max and not just being like, you know, handcuffed to his, like, you know, to a wheel or whatever. I don't remember now. You know what I'm saying? Like, that he's kind of tied up there the whole movie, and he's like, you bring him and you actually let him be a more central role, and she could be the supporting one in this one. You know what I mean? Because Mad Max Fury Road really feels like a Furiosa movie to begin with.
Yes.
Perhaps another Mad Max where we see more of him and just the right dosage of her. And when I say right dosage, I mean less than what we saw for in Fury Road. If that makes any sense.
Well, I know that their excuse now. I was actually going to ask you because their excuse is that it's like, well, we wanted to capture the idea that Mad Max is kind of like a free wandering spirit. You know, he just kind of passes through other people's lives and experiences. Now you seeing Road Warrior, what would you think in response to something like that?
Yeah, I don't buy it. I think that the first three movies, even Thunderdome, which I have issues with, it was clear what Max was supposed to be, and he has a more central role there. I never felt in any of those movies, even when there's, you know, Tina Turner shows up or whatever, I never felt that there's something that kind of questions what his role is in the movie. Sure, you know, it's a subdued performance sometimes. It's like kind of he's quiet and there's a lot of stuff happening around him, but I feel like he's important to the story in all those movies. Whereas Fury Road, it's just like, you know, he's there, but very much a Furiosa movie. And when I didn't love it then, I think it visually has some really cool stuff in it, but I didn't love the movie, and I still don't love it. And over time, I think I like it even less.
Fair enough.
It's a movie that doesn't hold up. I don't hate Charlize Theron either. I think that at least she's a decent actress. If there was a character like this, like you said, wouldn't have minded seeing her. I just think I needed to see less of her. And now I don't need to see her at all.
I mean, that is a positive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just being honest. You know what I mean? I mean, if people watching this right now, they're like, "I love it. This is the best thing that ever happened to me." I can understand that. It's
Mhm.
totally fine if you loved it. Sometimes we don't always agree on everything, and we just sit here and we have our conversations, and people feel about things the way they feel about them. I'm trying to think if what other trailers were there for Dune? What other movies are we gonna get soon?
Well, apart from Doom Part 2, I haven't really seen any that have caught my eye. Not really anything going on in the Disney Marvel verse
I mean,
anytime
I'm
soon.
looking forward to Ghostbusters,
That
Frozen
one actually
Empire.
looks good. Yeah.
I have mixed feelings. Like, it's hard for me to decipher what I'm seeing there in the trailers. I'm really hopeful because I rather enjoyed the previous one, Afterlife. It wasn't perfect, but I rather enjoyed it. They
Yeah.
could take it to the next level with Frozen Empire. Uh,
I will
I would
certainly
be.
say that the trailer was fun. The trailer was. It looked like is trying to capture the spirit of the original, but it looks kind of silly. I kind of liked that, but I think, to be honest with you, Tropic Thunder kind of ruined my perception of movie trailers from that point on until forever. So where it's like they have that sequel where it's just like, oh, they're taking on the frozen snow enemy who left the fridge open, you know. And I see
Yeah,
that kind of thing here.
there's something about it that seems like the Frozen thing. You don't know how to feel about it, but I'm willing to give them a chance. Sometimes movies are better than others if they could at least be pretty good. But
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to make a decision about it before I see it. And again, like I told you with all these other things, it's not that I want movies to be bad. If I go see
Mhm.
Furiosa and it ends up being the best movie that I've ever seen, I'll tell you, listen, man, I was wrong. I'm happy. I'm
Yeah.
happy to be wrong. Sadly, and most of the times, I'm not wrong. But when I am, I'm actually happy to be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
It's a
fair.
good feeling thinking that you rolling your eyes, looking at the artwork, thinking this thing is going to be some dumb crap, and then you sit there and it's actually great. That's the best feeling. I really wish for that, and I'll always tell the truth if it's that good. But Hollywood
Yeah.
just keeps disappointing me over and over again.
Yeah. I think that I think that Furiosa, a lot of people are expecting it to fail. It does have going for it that the director of the originals is coming back, and you can probably expect that the action will be really thrilling in some areas, and so there are things to look forward to with that, even if the story ends up being crap. In the same way, you can expect. You can expect the same thing for a movie like Ghostbusters, or the sequel, in being that, like, in the trailer it shows things that you might look forward to with the original cast. It looks like the OG cast are coming back and playing a more prominent role than the previous movie. That's actually something that has me excited for just seeing them back in action as a group. With the absence of one of their members, it actually looks like a pretty exciting movie with Jason Paul Rudd seeming to take a back seat to the OG cast this time, which will be fun to see. Maybe they'll flip it on its head again, though. Maybe we'll only see them in a little bit. You never know. You could be wrong.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's. By the way, I saw Tom from Midnight's Edge here in the comments. I said hi to him. Hey,
Oh, hey,
Tom.
Tom.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him here, so I was happy to see him. He probably he probably already went. He's probably doing another stream as we speak.
Oh,
But
man, that's cool that he popped in. That's awesome.
yeah, no, it's really cool.
And
I
here I am just running my mouth about things I care about.
no, it's okay. I'm trying to think. Wow, he was here for 14 minutes.
Dude, that's
In
awesome.
any case, I'll send him a DM afterwards. I'll thank him for stopping by. Oh wait, he's here again. Hey Tom, how's it going, man?
Yeah. But like, honestly, with just watching, now I don't know if I even I don't find why watching that trailer for Ghostbusters, since we were on that subject, I didn't really think of anything looking scary in that trailer. And maybe it's just me being desensitized from all the horror stuff I've watched growing up, or just seeing all the old Ghostbusters, and I just don't think that anything can scare me. But I think that like the idea of a frozen enemy is kind of silly. It might fit this era of Ghostbusters that we're getting. But I think that, again, the most exciting part for me is just the OG cast, just because I know that if the material's good, their delivery will be really good, and it could make me feel nostalgic, especially if you're a fan of the old Ghostbusters movies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to keep an open mind. There are red flags, but you know what? I'm hopeful that the people involved in this second Ghostbusters, I mean, it would technically be, I guess, the fourth Ghostbusters movie within canon. There's people involved in it that seemingly care about it. I'm really hopeful that at least, you know, sometimes movies are better than others, but I hope it's not like an embarrassment or something bad. Let's hope. I want it to be good. I prefer to put good energy and not really just tear it apart. They haven't done anything for me to be angry or upset, and I'm willing to give it a chance. And listen, I'll go see Furiosa too. You know, if it happens to be good, I'll admit it. It's just kind of everything is stacked up against it, and it almost feels like it's still part of this wave of Hollywood nonsense with the girl bosses, which is probably we're seeing a change of tide now, like a change, you know, a shift in policy that'll gradually happen if it's not already happening. So maybe these are just kind of the, you know, we'll still have to deal with some movies like this coming out, but given that movies like this may fail, perhaps Hollywood will learn this lesson, and we'll be able to start watching movies that are just funner and better and cooler to watch, and really targeted movies that are supposed to be for men are targeted for men. Movies that are supposed to be for women, you know, they're targeted for women. Hopefully we'll see more of that, and just crowd pleasers, big popcorn movies that are fun, less agenda, less propaganda. I'm a fan of movies. I want to see that. So if that happens, I'll be the first in line to say that I'm happy and I'm really excited about it. And I hope that we see that happen soon.
There's actually a couple movies I'm interested in seeing. I saw a trailer for it the other night. I forget what it's called. The guy who plays Pennywise in the new It. He's in this action movie where he's a blind, or not blind, but he's a deaf mute guy, or he's either deaf or he's mute or both. And he's just going and he's just attacking and killing all these bad guys in this pulpy, like Borderlands kind of way. And I think that movie is pretty cool. Looks like it's going to be a fun time. And then there's that. I've become a Robert Eggers fan, watching his movies, you know, with The Lighthouse and The Northman. And he's got this Nosferatu, his Nosferatu remake that he's doing. And Willem Dafoe has been saying a lot of really cool things about it, saying that it's probably Robert Eggers' best work. I think that a lot of people feel a certain way about the original. And I think there's an argument to be made there, like, you know, the necessity of remaking Nosferatu and whether that can be somebody's magnum opus if it ends up being.
Are you talking about the black and white one, like the original, the OG one? That's like a classic. Yeah, I mean, it's a classic movie.
Yeah, it's a classic.
It doesn't mean you can't try to do a remake. I'll watch a remake. It's such a classic the way it is that I can't really imagine it. But you know what? I'd give it a chance if there's good actors and good people involved. It's not something, so much time has passed. It's not taboo. It's not that you can't do it.
Well, they're certainly saying some really good things about it. I really do appreciate when directors try to do new things with their cinematography, their atmosphere, lighting, and just trying to like bring new ways of bringing scenes about. And I would love to see, like, it definitely looks promising. You know, it looks like they're taking it seriously, and it's not just another cash grab remake, like most things. And it's definitely something that I'm worried about these days, is them taking something that's classic and just kind of mangling it to fit a modern day worldview. And it's really harmful. And so that's something I've been skeptical about. But seeing, you know, Willem Dafoe and other actors come out and saying that it's a really good movie, it definitely has me excited.
I want to answer Tom here, who asked a question. He said, "Who else is talking?" So this is Dreadroberts, my friend, Tom from Midnight's Edge.
Yes, hello, Tom. Dreadroberts.
So yeah, So that's my friend. And then we had Whalem asking us if we watched Avatar. I assume you meant Avatar: The Way of Water. Yeah, I saw that movie. I didn't
No,
hate it.
I think they mean The Last Airbender, you know, because that just
Oh,
came out
Avatar:
on
The Last
Netflix.
Bender. I haven't gotten around to that yet. Somebody asked me that today. I just didn't get a chance.
So I actually watched it all the way through. I actually really love the cartoon. My kids are currently watching the series. They really love the cartoon. I had them do that before watching the live action, but I almost did the opposite. I'm glad I chose wisely. So yeah, that show, not so good, man. Like, it has some really good ideas. The cast is almost like perfect. Almost. There are some really bad choices, but then there's like but these characters really embody, or these actors really embody their characters. It's just too bad the writing kind of sucks, really, really bad, and they make a lot of unnecessary changes that will make people upset, including myself. So there's good and bad with it. Definitely the production is high, and the accuracy of like the look of the show is really good, in the actresses' performances. With what they have, I think are all right. Even the music is they get down pat. Like the music from the cartoon, you know, the more goofier moments with the drums and the flutes and whatever, and then like the big swelling orchestra moments. Like they get a lot of that right, and it's really sad that they get the most important part wrong, which is the story. So
I haven't gotten around to watching that yet. I see Whalem also wrote Echo. Echo was crap. I did a whole review on it. It's a terrible show. I feel like it just came out recently, but it was so bad that it feels like it came out 10 years ago, because it so came and went, making no impact whatsoever. It wasn't even sensational enough to be a joke that everybody talks about. It was like they dumped all the episodes at once. It was a joke that for like 24 hours people were making jokes, and then it disappeared and nobody talked about it again. And in that sense, Kevin Feige really succeeded in the sense that he knew it was crap, and he just made it come and go very quickly. And the less people talked about it, the better for him. It was a disaster of a show. It was so awful.
yeah,
That's what I can say about Echo.
Bottom rung entertainment for sure. I honestly don't think I've met a single person who did like it, unless you are a Twitter bot, in which case I have met plenty of those who really loved the show. Apparently, I'm not sure why. They don't explain it these days. They just kind of expect you to say okay and never question it. But no, I can't think of a worse show to come out on Disney Plus, unless we're counting She-Hulk.
Yeah, She-Hulk may have been bad, but even She-Hulk, they spread it out across like 8 weeks, that they kept showing another episode, and it just became this big laughing stock that doesn't end, and it just grows like a snowball. In this case, they knew how bad it was. They just quickly released it at one time. It was just ridiculous, and the strategy of dumping it all at once was a good strategy, only because of how bad it was.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Vincent D'Onofrio and Matthew Cox, the Daredevil actor, they don't talk about it. It seems like even when the show they were trying to hype the show up, they wouldn't even talk about it. Not very much. And I don't see a lot of talk about Daredevil Born Again either. Not in the sense that it should be talked about, which is very positively. Which is it's actually one of the shows that I dread the most. No pun intended. But because I really love the original Netflix Daredevil show, and I thought it was like such an amazing adaptation of Daredevil as a character. And there were so many things in that show that to this day are studied by people who enjoyed the show, other filmmakers, even like the hallway fight scenes, just so incredibly done. Even in the second season, which I think was poorer than the first, there's just so many things about that show that are so memorable.
Love that show. Love it.
And Born Again, I don't think it'll work.
No, I mean the thing is that at least you can tell that Feige is annoying. I mean, first of all, they tried to do all this kind of agenda and peddling nonsense, whatever they did. They seem to have done a very poor job. So at least Kevin Feige looked at it and he said, "Okay, we're redoing it." But anytime for some reason, once you start reshooting a show, it's always like a problem because it feels like it's rushed. You know, when somebody has to reshoot a show and you're like, okay, we're going to just reshoot it from scratch. That means that instead of planning this over a really long time and putting thought into it, everybody's scrambling to make something that doesn't suck. That's never a good thing. And yes, he went and he said, well, I'm hiring, I think, Foggy and Karen, whatever, bringing them back, bringing Bullseye back, whatever it is that he's doing. But you know what? It feels like what should have happened was from day one. I know there could be legal reasons. Actually, Tom often tells me about the 25% different and all the different things. But I think that Disney should have done whatever they needed to bring back the original team from the original show and just told them, listen, do season 4 the way you wanted to do season 4. Here's the keys. We'll give you a budget. And if somebody has to get paid off from Netflix, if there has to be an agreement, make all of those agreements work. Just make it work. Do the show the way it's supposed to be. And instead, they were like, no, let's do this. What if he's that? What if we don't bring these people back? Why don't we do this? So all their time for development and all their time for shooting and so much money they spent on crap. And at the end, they're running around like scrambling to reshoot it to make it kind of like the Netflix show.
I think you make a really important point there, Bryce, because that's exactly what I see is that they're always trying, and even when they're talking in interviews about it, they're always saying that they're just trying to recapture the spirit of the original, or they're just trying to make it not suck or make it passable rather than just getting down into it and making a really compelling TV show, which is an advantage I think that the original showrunners had for Daredevil season 1, a no nonsense, no filler season of a TV show. Like, that was really well done.
Tom from Midnight's Edge says they already paid. This is on Feige. Yeah, I mean, it turns out, and again, this is something that I talk a lot about with Tom, you know, on his streams, that it turns out that Kevin Feige is not as good as it seemed that he was. You know, when he's left on his own in the past few years, when a lot of the people that used to be around him kind of went away and they were replaced by these more activist type, it turns out that, you know, he isn't this invincible studio head. He's not as great as it seemed. Makes a lot of mistakes and stupid ones that could easily be avoided, ones that if you understand anything about your audience and just minimum stuff, you'd probably know how to avoid some of these mistakes. And you know, you could say he had a lot on his plate. They launched the service, it was blah blah blah, but you know what, this guy, he recently, in the past few years, he bought a house in Bel Air for $52 million. That's the type of money he's making running this studio. When somebody's paying you like hundreds of millions of dollars, and you have a net worth of, I don't know, hundreds, whatever it is that he has, he's making a ton of money. There's really no excuse here. You know, a few more shows, a few less shows. If you're getting paid on that level, you better deliver the goods. And so many fumbles, one after the other. The only reason I think he's still there is that they could still attach some past successes sort of to him, but I think he's really tarnished his legacy. He had some good years, but very bad years, and the past few have been very bad for him. On the other hand, you know, Kathleen Kennedy has been a disaster for almost a decade, and they just keep her for some reason. So you never really know with this stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think that an argument can be made for that like Kevin Feige had a lot of really good people around him, and from what I understood, because I've watched a lot of behind the scenes footage, just even back in the day, he just seemed a whole lot more involved in the movie projects, like on a personal level. Like, he was constantly talking to them, giving them advice, telling them about, you know, about Stanley's work, and he seemed that he was really passionate about it back in the day. I don't know if it's because he had, you know, an older generation of actors who had an understanding of their audience, you know, with Robert Downey Jr. and Christopher Marcus, Stephen McFeely, like who really brought Marvel to life in a big way, or, you know, the MCU, I should say, in a big way. And those people really are not there anymore. You know, there's not this big shared vision. It's just like, you know, what's the next hero going to be, and who's going to write it, who's going to direct it, rather than what's the overall big picture, like what's our movie Bible that we're going off of for this. It's a lot more disjointed than it used to be. And maybe it's because he doesn't have those people around him, like you said, that he's fallen so far. He just doesn't have good advice. He has these new people who are more concerned with self-imagery rather than crafting a story for audiences.
There's also a final element here, and I think that this is something that people kind of don't notice sometimes. Imagine there's a different part of your career where you're trying to prove yourself. You want to show that you're the best at something. You can be at the top of your game. Then you have all these successes, and suddenly you keep getting more promotions, more promotions. Again, you buy a house for $52 million in Bel Air. You're already in a different class of people. You're driving around in like a Lamborghini. You know what I mean? Like, suddenly this kind of hunger of like, what do we do next? What do we do this and that? He's busy getting massages and eating like, fried calamari, and you know what I'm trying to say? Like this.
Yeah. Well, I can certainly understand why. It could be suggested that he's just, he's done what he's supposed to do. Maybe he even mentally checked out after Endgame.
Yeah.
And like a lot of us thought that that's where the movies ended, and now he's just doing a job.
At this point, all he needs to do, he's skating on the goodwill of those earlier years. I think he gets up in the morning, and the main thing that interests him is what cocktail party he's going to go to, how everybody's going to clap when he arrives. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that he's sort of, he's not hungry anymore. That's part of the problem. That part of the problem, once you become that big, some people may still be hungry, but not him. You know what I mean? I think that somebody like Steven Spielberg, even when he had a lot of money, he still wanted to make more movies because he really likes to make movies. In Kevin Feige's case, he doesn't really make movies. You know what I mean? He proved that with Endgame, he can make box office records. He has a ton of money. I'm talking hundreds of millions of dollars. The man can sit from now until, the next generations of Feige's, like his grandchildren, can sit on an island and drink pina colada for the next 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, this guy is not worried about anything. Not echo. He goes. People tells him that there's some politics. He's peddling the right agenda. He goes to cocktail parties. People do like a toast. Do like for he's a jolly good fellow in his honor. You know what I mean?
While audiences just writhing in their seats, just like foaming at the mouth, because like what they're being presented is just like a brain-killing TV show. Yeah,
exactly. And you know what? It's fine. I mean, I'm hoping that the right people will leave and better people will come to replace them. I don't know how long it'll take. I don't know what'll happen if it's not too late for some of these franchises, but the tide does seem to be turning, and I think that the next few years are certainly going to be interesting.
There's no way they haven't heard. There's no way they're not aware. Like, fans are making it clear on social media. You've even got Joe Russo arguing with Lofty about things. These people are paying attention. Some of the big names. All of the backlash that they've been getting for these poor quality movies and shows. I do think that you're right that we are in a shifting tide, but I can't imagine they would. I don't personally think they're going to stop just yet. And I think that you mentioned that you feel that way as well, that they're not quite done yet. They've probably still got a few more projects to push out to us before they finally start being like, okay, now we got to go back to the drawing board. Other studios are following suit. I don't know if that rumor was confirmed about the Silk Spider thing being completely scrapped, their whole writing team being fired. But you got you've got the John Wick ballerina thing too.
So, some of the stuff is really happening. Some of the stuff is speculation, some of it is really happening. But I do think that there's a change. There's a change going on. The problem is with Hollywood is that a lot of times, even when there's change, the change is slow. It takes a few years to make movies. Mm-hmm. It'll take time to see some of these changes. But the fact that we see these reshoots, that we see people scrambling, that we see, there's something going on in the sense that they can't run away from this anymore. They need to make money, and there's only so much that they can continue these games, all these agendas, all this stuff. I really, I do think the tide is changing. It'll take a while until we see the results of it. but it's an interesting process, and we're certainly going to be here for it. And
So, by the way, I'm curious, Price, just from your opinion, after seeing everything from the past few years, what is it? At what point do you think that Marvel killed itself, basically, or the MCU basically just died?
I think that, if you needed to show like early dents in the armor or whatever it is, I think that Captain Marvel was, I won't say Black Panther, because Black Panther was a movie that I actually thought it was okay. I think it could have been better in certain aspects, because we were introduced to the character in Civil War, the Black Panther, and I liked what they did with them there better. They kind of took a step back and sort of reintroduced him in Black Panther, and maybe some of that wasn't necessary. But I didn't hate the movie Black Panther. It wasn't perfect. People are always like, "Oh, the train with the CGI at the end." Yeah, that wasn't perfect, but it had some heart. I like Chadwick Boseman. I thought he was good as Black Panther. There was some goodwill there. Not a perfect movie. Didn't hate it. But once you got to Captain Marvel, that was a movie that I remember sitting there and thinking, this is really, really a very subpar Marvel movie. It feels like a few levels below most of what we've seen. It's an unnecessary dumb movie that they shoehorned in here just to score some points and to show that they did some lady stuff or whatever it was. I think that was an early sign. But once you had Endgame, you really had people just forgot about it. You then had even Spider-Man Far From Home or whatever, and Far From whatever that second one. He was mourning the loss of Tony, whatever. Somehow they still got away with it. Once they started going with all those Disney Plus shows with Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi is actually one of the better ones out of those crappy ones, but even that one wasn't very good. Then you had the Eternals. Eternals is another low point.
Oh goodness,
Eternals is where it showed that they're really, really slipping. And that Black Widow movie wasn't very good. Everything just started feeling like a diminishing return. Like they were being cluttered with all these messages. They were forgetting what it was that even made the Marvel MCU really successful to begin with. You had Thor: Love and Thunder with his,
Dude, that movie was so insulting. I was so insulted watching that movie.
that one, that one was a stinker also. And Ant-Man 3, just the Marvels. Even I'll tell you what, Wakanda Forever, I think that the cast, I really like the cast. There's a lot of great actresses there. I think they did a really good job acting. It's just, man, that movie was just such a mess. It was such a kind of, let's capitalize on the fact. They were trying to capitalize on the fact that Chadwick Boseman isn't there, and then using that as sort of a platform to push all this kind of lady girl boss stuff. All the wrong lessons, in one production. That movie may have made a few dollars. It was still at a time where maybe a few people, there was some goodwill, they went to see it. That movie wasn't very good. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which was a holdover from the previous one, that was okay. That was a pretty good movie. Spider-Man No Way Home, again, it feels like they had to give the fans what they want and actually make a movie that people will be interested in, and people went and they made money off of it. But generally speaking, there have been a few movies that they somehow, in spite of Kevin Feige, they somehow did okay. So
you gotta search for those. Like they're like now.
I mean, and also they were things that they were building on the past. You know what I mean? Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was building on the success of the earlier phases where James Gunn was still doing stuff. If they hadn't fired him with all his scandals and he would have just made the movie initially, it would have been part of the previous phase. It's just because of the politics and the issues they had with him. That's why we got that movie later. But basically, it was like a leftover movie from a better time. Which is why it didn't suck. Again, Spider-Man No Way Home, mainly because of these older Spider-Men that people wanted to see. It's a nostalgia ride that it's a movie event that people just couldn't say no to. So in that sense, those movies did well. But anything that they tried to create a foundation for the future, any movie that's like, this is now the future of the MCU, none of that worked.
No.
So I mean, what can you do? But
Well-
I try to be optimistic. I think that there's a lot of good things that are still maybe Deadpool and Wolverine will be a decent movie. I'm not sure. Maybe it'll be okay. Maybe it'll be like an anomaly, kind of those like Spider-Man No Way Home. It's enough of a draw that a few people want to see it. Again, nothing you can build the future of the MCU on. Just maybe something as a blip. I don't know if it's from the movie Trainspotting. It's just a blip on an otherwise a downwards trajectory. I don't remember the sentence that he says about Sean Connery and the Untouchables, or I don't remember what it was. There's a quote. I would have to look it up, but there's some kind of joke there with Sick Boy that he's talking about Sean Connery and the downwards trajectory.
Well, they will. I will say though, they definitely know how to get people hyped up for Deadpool though. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, they definitely know how to get people excited. They certainly know their audience. I don't know how well that'll translate to the movie. It's like
I think that it's enough of an event that somebody, maybe a few people go see it. It'll really help that if it's good. If people go see it like the open weekend and it's really a genuinely good movie, it's funny, and people are like really enjoying themselves, I think that then it really can go a long way. But if it's something that is just they market it very well and you go see it and it's kind of a stinker, then it's probably not going to help them. But I think that movie has potential to make money, and if they just let Ryan Reynolds do whatever he does, and he does something interesting and charming and funny enough and kind of cool, maybe people will get behind it.
Yeah. I will say though, the trailer did make me laugh. Like I laughed out loud, especially that part where that guy's like, "Hey, I think you peed yourself while you were unconscious." He's like, "I wasn't unconscious." That just killed me.
That was pretty good. I mean, again, like I look at it and I'm kind of suspicious, but it was pretty good. So,
yeah, I mean, the TVA, that was instant.
No,
red
that was
flag
bad.
for me.
That was already a bad thing. But
Instant red flag.
I'm going to give it a chance. It's like I told you. I don't want movies to be bad. I'm trying to be a good person and trying to see if something will be good. So Deadpool and Wolverine, I don't want it to be bad, but if it is, then I'll be the first one to say it. And if it's whatever it is, that's what I'll say that it is. I'll never lie. You know what I mean?
Hey, no, we can expect nothing more than the truth, and the truth is hilarious often. So
it is. And I think, on this very positive note, I think we've covered a lot of great topics here tonight.
Yes.
Before we kind of wrap things up, is there anything you want to plug? Is there anything that you have?
If you want to find me on here, you can find me on Rumble, and you can find me on YouTube. Just look for Dreadroberts, and I do pop culture news reviews. I also have a second channel. I started dropping gaming content news on specifically Elden Ring and other things because I'm a gamer. So if you're interested in that, just look for Judson. You can find that on my YouTube channel, and you can find it on my Twitter because I never shut up about it. So yeah, it should be a lot of fun for the people interested in that. That's my plug.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I checked out your new gaming channel. I just recently watched the video that you put up there. It's really cool, and
thanks, man.
And yeah, you should definitely check out what Dreadroberts is doing. I always like his stuff, whether it's on his YouTube channel or his gaming thing. All good stuff. Yes. And if you enjoyed this stream, make sure to like, and if you're not already following or subscribed, whatever platform you're using, if you're seeing this video, you enjoy it. We love doing these kind of late night brainstorming sessions late at night, where we talk about all this cool stuff. If you like that too, make sure to follow this channel, and get notifications, do all of that stuff,
and chat with us too.
yeah, I mean, it helps us. We're not, we're doing this because we really enjoy doing this kind of stuff, first of all. And anybody that spent time with us now and hung out with us, we really appreciate it. Everybody that came by, that stopped by here, really appreciate it. And let's continue to do this. So like I said, like, share, follow, get notifications. All that stuff helps with the algorithm and just improves our mood and gives us even more incentive to do more stuff for everybody. But we're very thankful, regardless of what you do. We're very thankful that you're here and that you've joined us. And I want to wish everybody a good night.
Yes, indeed. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for
Good
stopping
night.
in.